Hey, my name's Jonathan, and I'm a veteran.
Hi, my name is Daryl, and I'm a veteran.
My name is Chad, and I'm a veteran.
Hey, I'm Travis. I'm an Air Force veteran.
Hi, my name's Ashley, and I'm a veteran.
Well, hello. Happy Sunday. I am Carol Lee. You're watching Conversations with a Vet. So hopefully everybody's having a great day today. I want to thank Jim, Jason. Thank you both for being out there in the chats. Much appreciated. I have Angry Sarge. Welcome. I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about. And the first one is going to be, let's show you here, see if I can do this, a golf tournament that I have signed up to be in. So hopefully everybody can see this. This is the inaugural golf fundraiser, and this is for Minutes Wisely for September 11th. It's going to be a scramble. I'm really excited to be a part of this. And we have a 4-person team. I am not good at golfing, so if you think that that has to be a prerequisite, it does not. So long as you've got some people who can hit that ball, you're all good to go. So hopefully, if anybody's interested, you can certainly scan the QR code here, or you can get a hold of me, conversationswithavet@gmail.com. So that is the first thing I have. And then outside of that, and again, by the way, this is going to be in, here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, again on September 11th of this year. All the proceeds go to Minutes Wisely. That is a 501c3 nonprofit in the hopes of helping to stop veteran suicide. So please, if you're not interested, also just share it anyway. You might have some people who really love to golf, would love to be a part of that. So we'd love to have everybody there, come out and meet some really great veteran podcasters, as well as this one. So, all right. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, I just signed up to be a VFW member at large with our local VFW post 12206. So I'm very, very excited for that. They have a lot in the pipeline right now going on for their community. So if you haven't joined a VFW, consider that. Take a look and see what you think. I'm sure they'll allow you to come in and just kind of listen and see what they're doing for their community and the veterans. Also, we are getting very close to our 500 subscriber milestone. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to be doing several giveaways. We have several books that we have that are already autographed or will be autographed and personalized and sent out as part of that 500 subscriber milestone. Really excited about that. Let's talk about a couple of those books. So we have, thank you, by the way, Rich LaMonica, a veteran and also podcaster. He has Out of the Darkness. That is, again, by Rich LaMonica. This just came in and he sent me several signed autographed copies. So again, these will be on the giveaway. The other that Rich has, it's called 13-Step Guide to Success. So very prolific author there for you. We have Donald Dunn, also another guest that I had on the show, graciously sent me a couple of Echoes of War. This is the silent transformation of a soldier. Let's see, I got a glare. Sorry about that. There they go. Okay. We have, pardon my French, we also have Jason Lee Morrison's anthology, The Perfect Fucking Life. And then we talked about Richard Fleek Minutes Wisely with his golf tournament. He also has From Sailor to Backyard Cook, and that is proceeds for that go, of course, to his 501c3 Minutes Wisely. But the interesting thing about this cookbook is the recipes are from veterans. So if you're interested in getting that, you can also do that. That's on Amazon as well. And then we have this book here, and this is called Internal Volume by Lee Allen Deckelman, a very good read as well. So also, as a side note to that, Kirk Spradley, who has been one of my guests on the show, he's becoming a very popular guest on many veteran podcasts, and he has finally gotten the sign off from the DoD with some redactions, but not a lot. So he'll be working on an edit and then getting his book out to the publisher soon. So that is awesome. I've also signed up for Vet Fest here it's going to be in Franklin, Tennessee. That is Vet Fest and Hero Stroll. And that's going to be Saturday, October 5th from 2:30 to 9 p.m. Central. So hopefully we'll see some of you out there. I'll keep reminding everybody as we get closer. And the last thing that I've got going on is I am joining Veteran Voice Radio's internet Semper Fi station. It's going to be one day a week, but we're going to do a test run first, and that is going to be on June 11th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. So be sure to join me in helping to promote our veteran singers and songwriters. So it's all veteran based. So, okay, hopefully I have touched on everything I wanted to touch on. And in the meantime, I have a wonderful guest with me sitting in the wings. Her name is Sarah Lancia. You may have recalled several weeks back, we had her husband on. So I'm happy to have another female guest join us tonight. So please give a warm welcome to Sarah Lancia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Hello, welcome. I was so excited when you accepted my invitation. I much appreciate it. And thank you so very much for your sacrifice and service. It's great getting to know veterans, and women veterans are very underrated when it comes to, or I guess not underrated. I guess that's not the word I want. Under acknowledged when it comes to things like this. So really excited to have you here and give us an opportunity to have a conversation.
Perfect. And I agree, especially when it comes to a dual military family, right? Because I followed him around for the rest of his career. It's easy to, people see him and go, yeah, and he has to constantly go, well, she served too. And oh, okay. And still to this day, people are kind of stunned that women serve. I don't get it. So
Yeah, exactly. So I've got some people texting me too. They say, just click the link. There we go. Okay, so to start, obviously the question, I'm sure you tuned in when I interviewed your husband. And so you kind of have the rundown. I didn't have an opportunity to talk to you prior to the show. So let's just ask, is there anything, well, let me rephrase. I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to say, if there is a topic that is off limits or you don't care to talk about for any reason, we just kind of sidestep. Okay. Will that work?
that works.
Excellent. So let's again welcome. We've got Jason, we've got Jim, Angry Sarge. Yes, we just talked not long ago, another veteran there. And we're working on that 500 subscriber mark. So y'all make sure you share this and like and comment. And Angry Sarge wants to help when it's time for the giveaway. We're getting close. So it hasn't even been, I don't think, 8 months yet. So to be over 330, to me, I'm happy. So, and Jim says, thank you, Sarah, for your service.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Angry Sarge says, thank you for your service and taking the time to share your story. So Jason also says, thank you for your service, ma'am. So you are very welcomed here, and hopefully you will feel comfortable as we get into it.
Perfect.
So let's start with a little bit about your childhood. Siblings and family life.
So I guess mine's a little interesting. I am kind of middle of 8 children. I have
Wow.
5 brothers and 2 sisters. So a traveling family of 10 when it came down to trips were quite interesting. My dad served. He was reserved right before Vietnam ended. He never went over for Vietnam. Interesting. They kept sending him to training for different things. And so before he got deployed, the war was ended and he never had to go. So the saddest part was watching him say over and over again that he was not a veteran because he did not go over and serve. And
Oh, that's not true.
yeah, so Christopher and I and my brother, who is a veteran as well, who followed me into service 2 years later, we both kept trying to tell him and ask him the stories and get the questions before he passed a few years ago. And so just because he didn't find value in it, we did. So middle of kind of the tail end of the first 4 of the children. I was raised in a Mormon or LDS family. Of those family members, maybe 3 of them are still a part of the LDS religion at this point. My brother that followed me in went back in after coming into the service. So it's been really nice to see him grow in that religion as well. Coming out of this service and the craziness we saw, he needed a connection and he found it back in the LDS religion. And so it's been really interesting to watch him flourish and his family flourish that way. But him and I are the only 2 that followed into service, and I had no inclination of what I wanted to do future wise. I didn't have I want to be a doctor, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. Still had no idea. So the service was my next best. I was not going to sit around and wait for a husband to show up. And so
Good for you. Good for you. And so, gosh, 8 kids. That is a lot. And my husband's family, his father is one of 12. So big families make for great holidays.
oh, they can be very interesting. Yes. Watching I guess the logistics my parents had to go through for any holiday, Christmas especially, right? It was always fun to watch them handle that. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so about your education. So were you studious in school?
I was not. And being from I was born in Utah, but raised in California, a little tiny town in way up Northern California, the last inlet county before you head into Oregon. And people will tell you, especially back in the 90s, that the California system would kind of just push you through whether you were good at it or not.
Did you find that to be true?
Oh, 100%. Many times I look back and go, I don't know how they gave me a diploma from high school. But by the time I got to college, I guess I was finally ready for it, and I excelled in college. I did really well there, but high school was not my thing. So
Yeah, I understand that. I really do. And the fact that, well, you made it through, right? And you should pat yourself on the back because that is one of the first achievements that, into becoming an adult. So,
correct.
yeah. And so what was it then that prompted you to join the military and specifically the Army?
So I had no idea anything about it. My dad never talked about his service. The closest from there was a grandfather that passed away before I was even alive. So I didn't have anybody that talked about it around me. However, my best friend from high school went in. And when
Okay.
she came back in between basic and AIT for a visit, I remember her asking her specifically, how do you like it? And expecting her, you've seen the movies, right? You expect oh, it's awful. I don't know why I did this. And she said, I absolutely love it. If you are interested, you should go do it. And she said, I'm not just saying that just to blow smoke. She's like, I'm having a great time learning things, meeting people, doing stuff.
Awesome.
So I figured I would try it out. So I contacted the same recruiter she did. And a year and a half later, I was on my path as well. So.
And did you have any inclination of going to college at all?
I did not at that point.
Okay.
I figured because I struggled through high school that was not going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Luckily, I met Chris and he was 100% I'm going to college, and I saw him handle it. And I'm like, maybe I can do this. And so stuck my toe in. Actually, while in service, I took some of the college classes at night. Just to try and get the more difficult ones out of the way before I had to dig into other stuff, and found that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going back to school. So
It's different especially when you didn't have that micromanagement of teachers, right? I think that makes a big difference. And the hovering, things like that, you're able to work on it kind of on your own time. I mean, still there's deadlines for papers and what have you, but I think that's excellent that you had that opportunity and the availability.
And my struggle was math. I knew I was going to have a difficult time. However, I found that my college professors were more inept of breaking down problems. So I did just fine making my way through the math classes I had to do. I probably would not have been able to make it much further than those classes. I was not going for a math major, but I felt like I was confident enough I could go into tests without sweating it. I knew I had it down and could break it down little step by step. So they were more apt to show me how that works, where the high school instructors, which I get it, 40 something students to a class, and they can't hone in on those that need those struggle help. So.
Right. And kind of an embarrassment when you have to raise your hand and say, wait, I don't get it.
Yes, over and over again, right? I can ask once, and then after that, you just feel ridiculous having to ask a second time because you actually didn't get it the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense to me. And so you went into basic. What was it like when you first stepped foot on that base?
Very scary. It was back in the old shark attack time that they would yell you off the bus, and they would degrade you for easy hour to 2 hours before you even got to drag your bags into where your beds were. So I was called all kinds of names. I had one of the female drill sergeants decide I was her favorite, not favorite. She was going to pick on me the hardest. I guess I was too quiet for her liking. And so she was going to light me up one way or the other.
And how did that go over?
Luckily, she did not end up being my direct drill sergeant. I probably would not have made it through basic with her on top of me, but I did have her come up to me afterwards and say she had seen a huge change and that she would have loved to have had me in her platoon because she would have just the one, the whole different person they saw get off that bus versus who was leaving.
Yeah.
So we had the MEPS program, or the what was it? The station basic and AIT in the same spot.
Oh, okay.
So they got to see us all the way through basic and AIT.
Oh, wow. So what, in your opinion, was the most challenging part of basic?
The PT was the most challenging for me. However, right next to that one was anything that I had to do interview or memorize wise. I'm a very nervous person. I can memorize it, but my brain will tell me I don't have it memorized. And so I would screw myself up time and time again, and I knew I was going to do it. So anything that they would make us recite something or remember stuff, just was the worst for me.
Just kind of talked yourself out of it. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah. I've got a major exam coming up, and yeah, I get it. When it comes to exams, I'm horrible. I know the information inside and out, but then the second it comes time to put pen to paper, I'm done.
And I just went through as a civilian employee for the Army. I just went through the public affairs qualifications course.
Okay.
And a lot of it is having to remember your own presentation, not reading from anything. And I knew that was going to be a nightmare for me, but I survived it. So
That's a good thing. That's
yes,
great.
yes.
So you go through basic. What rifleman? I mean, I obviously, Marine Corps, Navy. I mean, primarily you're a rifleman first. How was it for the Army?
I thought it was great. That was my favorite part. Did it back home, so it was easy for me to do all of it. And so for that, I got to step back and kind of watch all the other people be a little nervous for once. And I got to feel that confidence come out a little. So I thought it was decent enough. I'm not sure that if I had ever actually deployed that I would have felt 100% confident in it, but that would have come with having to use it all the time.
Right. The more you do it, unfortunately, in that circumstance, the easier it becomes.
Yes.
And you begin to compartmentalize. So I completely understand that. So, okay, you go into AIT, and let everybody know, for those who are non-veterans who will watch this either tonight or in the future in the recording, what does that stand for?
So it's your initial training for whatever job you sign up to be a part of. So they give you the basic rundown of what you might see once you get to the whole force.
Okay. And did you have a specific MOS that you had signed up for?
I was a chemical operations specialist. I know it's renamed now, but that's how I know it. So that's how we'll say it.
That's okay. So that's huge. Now, what did your parents say when you told them you were going to join the Army?
That was a weird one for me. And I didn't realize how weird it was until I went back to visit my dad once he was diagnosed with cancer. Because my brother picked me up from the airport, and he makes this comment to me. He says, "How did you convince Dad to let you go into the military?" And it caught me off guard. I said, "What do you mean?" So I guess my dad had convinced my brother's just older than me to not go in. Don't do it. Don't do it. But when I came to him, I don't remember him saying anything otherwise. He wanted me to go to college, and he tried his hardest to help me find where that might be. But I think the fact that he saw me actually try doing the visits and applying for different things, that he knew that was not going to be for me. So I told my brother Joseph, I said, he didn't say anything, other than I hope this is what you want to do, and you're sure. And which made me only sign up for my 3-year contract versus a 4, 5, or 6, because chemical, they couldn't get people in the seat. And so they were offering a 3-year minimum buy-in. And I'm like, yes, thank you. I'll take that one, just in case I don't like it.
Option A, door number 1.
Yes. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. But so he did not say anything to me. And being a daughter, especially a daughter of an LDS family, it kind of shocked me when I found out he tried to convince my brothers, but for me. And so I asked my little brother that followed me in as well. And he said Dad didn't give him a hard time either. So I think after those two, Dad was kind of like, maybe this might be an option for futures. So,
yeah. And how did your mom take it?
She was kind of the silent type. So never voiced anything about it. However, her actions later on, I would get women and veteran pins. She worked for the United States Postal Service.
Mhm.
And so when they came out with the women veteran pins and stamps, and she would send me it, just anything she could find. My first Christmas, she sold Avon as well. And so she sent me this little plastic light up tree so that it could travel with me, So she showed through her actions that she was, I think, kind of excited that her daughter went and did something, went out and made a life. So
Yeah,
that tree still sits on our mantle every Christmas. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. So tell me about what the chemical operations includes. What exactly is it? What exactly did you do?
So back in the day, that meant detecting and decon of chemicals in the warfighter function, right? So if we were going out to a field or an area, we would go in first and test for it. And if it was good, then everybody else would come into that area. And then if we were hit with a chemical attack, we would clean up. We would help everybody decon. We would help them clean up the vehicles so that the chemicals are no longer on the vehicle or on them as well.
Excellent. And how hard was that training?
I remember it being pretty difficult, but I was a nervous person anyway. So I wonder if I went back through it, if I would still get that same sense to me. It was a lot of computer systems. I went on to train with, I don't know if they're still in the force or not, the Fox vehicle. So it was the chemical detection vehicle. It's a 20-ton amphibious vehicle. And so that was a whole lot of computers, and in a time that computers were not a big thing yet.
Right.
So,
Exactly right. And so this particular vehicle, amphibious even, what was its purpose?
so we, again, instead of just setting up as a chemical person, simply trained, I would go out and test if we already know there's possible chemicals out there. I would mop gear up, I would put the special gear on, and I would go out and test with handheld testing or machines that would go on the perimeter that would tell us if it sensed chemicals in the air. Correct. So this is a huge vehicle that had all the computers in, that had little handed gloves that were attached to the machine or to the vehicle itself. And so you could roll out into, say, a field, use the gloves, put your hands in, take samples of the dirt in the air around you, and then bring it in for analysis. So I could go set up in this autonomous vehicle that's completely sealed so that you're not affected by the chemicals, so you don't have to wear the suits and everything else. And I could detect and keep rolling along to keep them notified as the battle moves along that, hey, this is clear of chemicals, or hey, stay clear of this area. So
Oh, I bet you were so well liked for that. Helping to keep everybody safe in their journey, if you will, through this. That's excellent. And when you first signed up for this MOS, did it meet your expectation?
not based off the video they showed me. We all know those videos are not even close. And when they try to tell you the civilian connection down the road, not even close. So it was not. However, it was the only MOS that was given to me as an option. I had to go to MEPS 3 times. They kept trying to give me medical stuff. And if I see blood, I pass out. And it's not something I can fix. It just is what it is. Like I can even know someone's bone is broken on something, and I will get lightheaded and pass out. So I couldn't take medical as much as I would have loved to have done medical, because that would transfer the civilian sector 100%, and I knew it would. So chemical was the first one that came up that was not in the medical field for me. And so it was either take another 8-hour drive home from Oakland, California, and do it again for a fourth time, or take what they gave me. So that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And those choices, a lot of times people don't recognize how difficult sometimes those choices can be. But when you think about where you are today and how it's gotten you to this point in your life, you kind of look back and say, I did okay.
Right. It showed me that I can do something that I have no interest in and be fine in it, right? Like I can at least survive. And I think for me, that is translated in the job sector as well. Because I always tell everybody a job gets a job. Even if the job I have right now is not what I want and is horrible, it still looks better on a resume than saying, well, right now I'm not employed.
Yeah.
So,
was there any kind of civilian certification for what you did then in the military?
especially back then, no.
Nothing. And still at this time, are you aware of anything?
I don't know. Rich still has his hands in it. LaMonica, I know he'd be able to answer that one, but I have no idea. And I know they do even more. There's more to that MOS now than there used to be when I did it. So
yeah, that's a question that I had another veteran actually pose to say, "Hey, have you ever asked this question?" I was like, I have not, but that's a great question. So
yes.
I now put it on my roster, even though everything else is unscripted. This,
Right.
it's just a very raw conversation. So, so you then, I presume, were deployed.
I never deployed.
Really?
So I was in the 90s,
Mhm.
got out before any inkling of that stuff even started. So I never had to deploy. I got out just before Bosnia was a thing for our unit. I think they deployed shortly after I got out to Bosnia, but it was all peacetime for me.
That's not a bad thing.
Mm-mm.
And so how long did you serve for?
Just shy of my 3-year mark.
Okay. And what cut you short?
So speaking of the deployments, we had another couple that were dual military back in the 90s when they didn't favor the dual military. It was hard enough just being a female service member in the 90s. Now add yourself to being married to somebody. So we saw them deploy for Bosnia, and the husband's unit got called up first. And so he flew to Bosnia. Hers was 4 or 5 months later. She had to fly all the way back stateside on her dime and her time, hand their child off to whoever could take that child, and fly all the way back to then fly for deployment. And at that time, we did not have any family members that financially or ability wise could take care of any children we possibly had in the future. So we had to sit down and have that hard conversation, who stays in and who goes. It came down to the pros and cons of Chris loved what he was doing as a Black Hawk crew chief. Mine was just a job at that point, and that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. However, the good side for mine was I would have picked up rank quicker because the chemical field is a lot smaller. So we had to weigh all this stuff back and forth, what made more sense, and happiness weighed out. I wanted him to stay in and stay happy if that's what he wanted to do. So I got out and I stayed with the kids, and he followed him through the rest of his career. So,
Which, I mean, that's a wonderful thing that you did. And where you didn't feel it was going to be a career for you, it makes perfect sense. So you were in for just under 3 years. And did you have a favorite part of being in the Army?
So as much as people might laugh at this, I absolutely love the basic and AIT. Once I got to my unit, it was so boring to me that I'm doing the same thing day in and day out at that point. I was bored. I was 100% give me whatever you can give me so that I can go do something else, because it was not the greatest for me. I said it often. If you send me back to basic and AIT, I would be happy again. So
Isn't that crazy?
I loved it. Yeah.
You could have been an instructor.
I could have 100%. And that's the saddest part. I think people now in the military are a little more formed of the options that you can change MOSs, and that they call it reclass. Yep. Or that you can fight your way through college and go officer and change your career field at that point as well. We were not really informed about that. We had no idea. So I felt like if I stayed in, that's all I'm doing is chemical. And that's not where my heart was. So
right.
If I tell people all the time, if I had known I could reclass or go and finish college and go on another career path as an officer, I would have stayed in. We would have been a dual military and we would have figured it out.
Right. And so what did you do when you got out? And I guess before you answer that question, let me ask this. When you got out, when you were transitioning back to civilian life, did the Army provide any kind of resources for you on how to transition back?
None. And I feel like we had little to begin with. However, I was kind of shoved out as quick as possible, even to the point that nobody told me if I had just rode out the last month, I would have walked away with a lot of other stuff that I didn't get for cutting it short. I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. That took me over my date to get out. So it was here, just go here, get this signed, go here, get this signed, not going through what little classes they did provide back then. I feel now they are a lot, even though there's still more room for improvement in that area. There's always room for improvement in that area. Yeah. How can we help you? How can we make life better for you as you transition? Because it's not a paint by numbers for every person.
It really isn't. I think that's a great analogy too.
I cannot 100% tell you what is going to phase you and what isn't. So how can I paint you into a certain, here's how this is going to work for you. So, but I think it is night and day from what I went through to get out. Yeah. So, or what even people getting out when I got out, 100%. Even seeing Chris's dad get out, he didn't get as much transition stuff as they get now. So,
yeah, and I'm happy that the military is that the higher ups are actually learning the importance of that. Obviously that the 22 a day, it could be more, could be less. I think the number's ever changing. It's just that slogan, if you will, really doesn't change. But that is at the forefront. And it's constantly in the back of their heads, and the lawmakers are saying, hey, we have to do something, because one of the biggest issues with those military individuals who are coming back into civilian life, they don't have that, this is where you need to be at this time and do this and do this and do this. They now are in their head. They don't have that absolute discipline of somebody telling them what to do, where to be, and how to do it. So it's kind of a flounder.
Yes.
So I'm really happy to see that. And I agree 100%, Sarah, that there's still obviously a lot of room for improvement, but the fact that they've begun taking those steps is, I have to give credit where credit is due.
And the biggest thing to me, and watching Chris transition, as well as when he retired and got out, hearing them tell the service members that just because you pick a path when you leave, it's okay to adjust that path.
Yes.
It's okay to decide all this work you put in is not where you want to go. You'll be okay. There's plenty of people around to shore you up and make sure you get. I think that's the hardest thing. They put in so much. I'm finally getting out. I finally get to do what I want to do. And so it's hard to go, wait a second, that's not what I want to do now. And to be able to go, that's okay. I'm going to 180 this and I'm going to figure something else out. And they push it. And I love it. I absolutely love to see that.
Yes. Being able to pivot is key just in life in general. You get hung up on something that doesn't go well. I mean, you're just stuck in a moment and you're not moving forward. You have to be able to be adaptable in life, not just military, but in life as a whole. So I think that makes a lot of sense as well. So what is it you're doing nowadays?
So I am a graphic designer for short words. They call it a visual information specialist for the Army Sustainment Professional Bulletin. So all areas of the military have a professional bulletin. Whether it's actually being published to this day or not is questionable in some of them. I think there's maybe about 4 of them that are actually still being published and only 2 or 3 that are being pushed on a regular basis. But there is a movement now to bring them all back. And so the articles come from the service members, the civilians that are involved with these deployments or helping them train for deployments and everything else, so that the service as a whole can learn from their lessons. So that if one sustainment unit goes to train for something specific or something new, once that's an okay to be released information about it, right. And can be put out, this person can write an article. It can be published in our magazine, and we push it through social media and everything else. It goes out on the DoD wide email blast. Hey, check it out. Here's a new, issue of the Army Sustainment. But you get points of view from all different walks of life within the military. We've even had civilian contract civilians that have written, especially with the big push for data information right now.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that write that even if they're not a DoD contractor or anything, but they have information to push about an area for sustainment, they'll write an article and we'll publish it for them. So
wow.
I do the covers for them and the full layout. I'm their Facebook guru and their internet or their website coder. So
that's awesome. If you know of anybody, now Angry Sarge calls him the nerd, but I am looking for somebody to give me a hand. So I've got, to help with different videos and editing and things of that nature. So I'm throwing it out there. So if anybody knows anybody who wants to give a hand, it is a completely non-paying job that you're going to love.
Chris Lancia.
And you get to do it on your own time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to talk to him.
Sounds good.
Here, Chris, hello.
But the coolest part is I remote work. I actually work for Fort Greg Adams, where all sustainment is, and I remote work for them. So the pandemic taught them that I can 100% remote work. So for the first time ever as a military spouse, I've been able to hold on to a job for longer than 2 years. I will be in the seat for 6 years this coming September. So
congratulations. And your children are still young, yes?
Nope. We have a college graduate and I think he's coming up. He's got 1.5 years left in the Air Force. He may re-enlist, but yeah, we say he went the smart way and went Air Force, but to be honest, the Air Force is the one that had his career field that he wanted, that it was just, he does welding and machining for the Air Force.
Okay.
And that's what he wanted to learn. And that's what he wanted to do. And every other branch feathers it in with some other MOS. And he did not want that. So he sought it out and asked questions and found what he wanted and took the path. So,
And now going through the military yourself, how did you handle having your child come and tell you, I want to go into the military?
For us, him telling us that was easy. We'd already had conversations with them, and they know they can come talk to us about anything. However, we did ask him to please come talk to us no matter what the recruiter says. Like, please ask us questions, because even true to form, even though we went in on the first meeting with his recruiter, there were still things he came home and said, the recruiter said this. And we're like, So this recruiter knew he was too deep on veterans family members that right there directly connected. And he still told him stuff that was inaccurate. So
it's nice when you have an advocate for your recruit. And I say that because when our middle son went to talk to the Marine Corps recruiter, our oldest Marine said, let me know when you go because I will be calling. I want to be a part of this.
Yes.
And boy, he asked some serious questions that we would not have thought of as just average parents, right? So I think it was great because after that conversation, we felt better as parents. Of course, our middle son felt better, but then talking to our oldest Marine at that time afterwards, he's like, yeah, this guy's legit. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He is telling you the truth. He's got our son's best interests at heart. So
oh, that's amazing. That is, yeah, because even within the branches, even for us, the Air Force, we kept going, well, maybe the Air Force. And so we'd have to look it up to see if it's any different. So that's just amazing to have that 100% connection of, hey, I'm here doing it. Here's what they told me. Just make sure this might not be true. Or
yeah. We had a sergeant questioning a gunny. It was.
That's amazing.
And it was quite interesting how it came about and the verbiage, of course, it was kind of like a no holds barred. And even though at that time our oldest was still in the Marine Corps, so it was like, I was thinking, please don't get in trouble. Please don't get in trouble.
Yes. Don't let him call him.
I know. That was really a concern because, as moms, we want what's best for all of our children. So,
right.
But and to this day, I have to say, they're my middle son's recruiters, probably the best in our state, and they still to this day, over 2.5 years, still check on him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
So a great group of recruiters and individuals. So we were really pleased, and our son's really happy with them. So that they did not lead him astray. So
and I never got the half truths or the no truth in that, because that can be an advocacy for you as a recruiter down the line, right? If you're sitting around with friends and one of them say you're someone in their family or friend circle is thinking about, oh, let me send you here and here's why, you can go talk to this recruiter. Now you're helping his numbers out.
And we've done it.
Yeah.
We have done it. So we had some friends whose daughter wanted to join the Marine Corps, and not in this specific area, still in the state, but it was like, look, if you don't trust that recruiter, you need to find one you do.
Yeah.
And here's some information. Here's a phone number. Here's their location. Go check them out.
And I, on that same front, I believe Chris has done that a few times with some of our family friends that have kids that want to go into the Army. And they're like, we just don't know what to ask the recruiters or what. All right, here's some questions to ask them. Yeah. And if they don't answer it this way, walk away. Go to another one. Go there's plenty within your area. Go find another one. So
That's right. And I think that's a really good point when it comes to those looking to join the military and helping to determine what branch. You don't have to go into the first branch recruiter that you have seen, that you talk to. you have choices, just kind of like buying a car, right? You're going to be signing a contract. It's a two-way contract, and both of you have to follow that contract. And, so it's just, you have those options, those choices.
Correct. And even if you think that one is definitely what you want to go for, go sit down with all of them. I've had so many people that have gone, oh, I was going to do this for sure. This is where I was going. And they ended up at some event where 3 or 4 different recruiters,
Yeah.
and they just connected better with another recruiter and got better information from them and fell in love with that service instead, and ended up going down a whole different area than they thought they were going to. So
Yeah. Well, our middle child, he wanted to be Navy, and he was dead set on it. And he was too young to talk to a recruiter, went to a football game, school football game, and the Marine Corps was out there. They had the pull-up bar, and
yeah.
he's like, oh, so he started talking to him, and they said, well, I'll tell you what, just come into our office. Right next door is Navy, and we'll give them a call, see if they want to come in and have a sit down, and we can both, discuss this. And so he's like, well, all right. And he went in, and the Marine Corps recruiter got a hold of the Navy recruiter, had him on speaker, and the Navy recruiter was too busy.
Oh,
And
wow.
so he's like, look, I'm here. I want to talk about this. And so, yeah, but I mean, they did everything very transparent with him. And I think that's how they are with all of their recruits, this one particular recruiting establishment. So
That's amazing. I mean, in today's day and age, how many veterans are actually out there that are probably part of your family? It makes no sense to go down that route of lying to one to get in anymore. You'll probably get 1 or 2 snagged, but the rest of them are going to go, you need to walk away from that guy now, be done with that branch, whatever. So
yeah. And always ask, if you can find somebody who's been there, done that, and walk in with you, right? Your advocate.
And now with the internet, you can't go in blind anymore. There's no excuse to go in blind to any of them. So
No, I agree.
I've got like our son, he knew the type of job he wanted, and all he had to do is find out his best choice within that job and which one could get him into that job. Yes. And so he walked in and this is what I want. I'm not talking until you tell me this is what I get. All
there
right,
you go.
bud, you do you.
I want it in writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what we kept telling him. Just because they're saying it, no, you need to see that title in your contract going in. Otherwise, they can pull it. And he's, okay. So, yeah, we made sure.
Yeah. So G23, thank you for being out here. He said he tried to join the Marines and he was told he was too violent to join at the age of 16. That's interesting, considering the Marine Corps is a war-fighting machine. So.
Right. Right. We'll help you tone it down. You would figure that
right.
Out. Like, we'll get you reined in.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
And look at where you are today, G23. Danny, thank you for joining. He says, if I'd gone with the best recruiter I talked to, it would have been Navy. And everybody has a different experience. I think, and that's a key about what this show is about, right? Hearing everybody's stories and why they went the route that they went. And always love having those conversations because there's no set stereotype.
Right. And
I love that. I get tired of the labels. I actually had that conversation yesterday with my oldest. Everybody labels everybody, but when it comes to the branches and what they offer and individuals joining the military, there's really no label you can put on that because everybody's story and what they're doing is so different.
Yes, their goals are different in life. Mm-hmm. I mean, even for me, I may not have known what I wanted to do, but I wasn't going to peel potatoes for mess. I knew that's not what I wanted. Someone else will want to do that. Let's get them in that job.
Right.
I knew I didn't want to do that. And so, everybody's going to come at it differently. And yeah, it has to be an awesome story, like story after story to hear.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now let's go back a little bit. So with your MOS, your training, did they treat women differently as far as your physical, your PT than they did the males? Did you have a separate platoon for women? How was that?
So we did have different PT standards. Ours were less push-ups, less sit-ups, a longer time on the 2-mile run than the men. We were a rarity at the time. We trained with men. We weren't separated. So coming into any regular Army and hearing that women train with only women and men train. So we were separate sleeping. We were put into different barracks, but we were meshed together through our entire basic and AIT training. I had guys to my left and right in my line every single day. So we were one of the rares that did that at the time. Most of them were separated.
Yeah. And did it help having the males beside you and training beside you? Did it make you want to push yourself a little bit more?
I think it did. And I felt that we had the men there. They understood us as female veterans a little better, seeing us go through this training. I feel like those that trained by themselves, it was all men. They didn't understand that the women still went through the same training they did. We still had to fire the same weapons they did. We still had to run the run they did. We still had to go. Yes, we still had to put our face in the dirt when we low crawled for the night, fires, everything else. We still had to do everything they did. And so I feel like I came out with more male advocates around me than a lot of the females that trained separately did.
Yeah.
They saw what I could do. I didn't have to prove it to them. They saw it all the way through training. And so as we were going through, I had 2 of them that were stationed with me, and I never had to tell them what I was capable for. Like someone would say, do you think, at the time my maiden name was Larson, so they'd be like, do you think Larson could handle this? And not once did they go, oh, I don't know. It was, oh, Larson's got it. We'll go grab this. So I felt like I had more of a connection to my male counterparts than any of the other females that trained separately from them. I feel like they had to fight their way into that MOS.
Right.
And we had already shown them. We showed them that we were there for all the same training they did. So.
And how long was your basic training?
6 weeks, I believe.
6 weeks.
That was just the MOS, 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere in there. So.
Okay. And how do you think that your training, both in basic and AIT, has helped you today in your job?
I mean, I'm there on time.
That's important. That's important.
That was a little maybe shot at the newer generations. But anyways, no, 100%. I get all the time. I'm there when my time's supposed to be there. I work the entire time, and I don't quit until it's time to leave. And usually it's the boss going, hey, Sarah, you're over your time. And, oh, shoot, you're right. And I log off and take off. So it shored up what my dad taught me for work ethic, 100%. He never paid other people to do stuff he could do. And so I've always been, no, I can do this. I got this. I can handle this.
Right.
And until you get a little older and realize it's probably easier to hand it to the younger groups at this time.
It's got a little bit more oomph.
Yeah, definitely.
And so how did it help as far as working in a team environment?
So I still struggle with that no matter what. I have a hard time asking for help. I feel like in the military, because you're around other people that are doing your job as well, every once in a while, when I got to my regular Army position, I only had 2 other people around me that did my job. But having them around, I never really had to ask for help on that. They knew where they needed to dig in and help, and so did I. Like, I know this needs to be done, so let's just get it done. So I do have that difficult time still working with teams in that area because I know what my strengths are and I just get it done. Even sometimes to the detriment that asking for help would have made it a little easier. But team wise, as long as the team is firing well and they all know what they need to do, I think it shored that up a little bit. But being able to ask for the help within that team environment, I'm not sure I translated that one well.
Well, and sometimes there are different strengths for different people, right? And knowing and recognizing those deficiencies, if you will, is part of knowing who you are and things that you can obviously work on. My job, I have a great number of people in the office. And when I say that, I'm talking in the teens, and we're all like family, and it's the same, right? Everybody helps everybody out. When it's crunch time, when the clock's against us, everybody's jumping in and helping to get things accomplished. So, and granted, I'm not military, but this is the first job that I've had that is like that. Instead of everybody being a free for all and trying to climb that ladder,
Right.
So yeah, I think
I do want to say it did help in that understanding that gratitude of people that saw where you slacked and just jumped in, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to ask. I'm just going to jump in and help you. I'm seeing you struggle, but I'm not going to embarrass you or what have
Right.
you and say, Sarah, do you need help? No, I'm just going to jump in and help. So it showed me the appreciation of that 100%. And my team does it as well. We're a small team. It's 3 of us that work. But when it comes down to crunch time for publishing, it's, hey, we good. What do you need help with this? You got this. How's this looking? Everything else. So that hey, I'm available if you need help. I just let me know. And they do have to ask since I remote work. They have to ask when I'm sitting. They can't sit and watch me do it. So yeah, but the appreciation that people are there willing to go, I see you. I'm going to ask. I'm just going to do. We're going to get this done. So
yep, and that's key. So now that you have been out of the military for a while, what, if any, resources have you come across and utilized?
So the veteran service organizations have been huge for me. I originally was introduced to Team Red, White, and Blue, and I will not lie, and I will probably tear up in this one. It saved me a lot for a lot of stuff. I had just started into the running world. They do a lot of athletic events, and I am not the person that will seek people out to become friends with them. And that's a lot of the veteran background, right? If I end up being around you, we'll go hang out. If not, I'm not going to be the one asking you to go hang out. So having an organization that had events set up that I could just show up and be a part of. And I tell, especially women veterans all the time, they didn't care how I showed up. I could be in 15-year-old tennis shoes and a torn up t-shirt. They didn't care. We're going running. That's all that mattered. We're going to go hit that pavement. We're going to go ruck. We're going to go do whatever's ahead of us. And conversations just naturally flow with that, right? And I started finding my place again. Sorry.
That's okay.
Started
Take your time.
realizing that being a female vet was important.
It actually is important. And you are a wonderful role model for other women who are looking to join, as well as those who need a friend who have been there and done that. Let's talk a little bit about, so Red, White, and Blue, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's one of the nation's leading veteran service organizations, and all of their proceeds from their gear store help them to fund their programs for veterans. And the majority of the products in the store, those are manufactured in the U.S. by veteran-owned businesses. So there is the link that I put that is out in this link that is on the page that you can see out there, www.teamrwb.org. It's also in the chats. So if you want to take a look out there, see what they're all about, you can do so.
I can, Team RWB was just I call it my gateway drug to VSOs. I realized how awesome they are and the opportunities they give me. I have since helped out with Run to Remember. They do a lot of running events in memory of fallen service members. So I have volunteered with them a few times. I have deployed with Team Rubicon. So if you're missing that deployment attribute that you used to get in the military, the going out and accomplishing something for a deployment and sitting around and enjoying a chat around the bonfire at the end of your day, look them up 100%. And currently we do a lot with the Travis Manion Foundation. So.
And let's get those put up as well. Let's see here. So there is Team Rubicon. I'm going to put that out in the chat here.
And so Team Rubicon deploys to disaster areas. And so they'll train you whatever you need to do. You can even just show up and help with cleanup to start to see how they work. Great organization. I've helped out in the Kentucky, what was it, 2 years ago when the Kentucky devastation happened. And then I helped out for the Clarksville one as well.
The tornadoes?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they came through, got on their list and went and deployed with them to Kentucky to go do this. Clarksville wasn't much of a deployment since I lived there, but yeah, put my name into the hat. They said, yes, let's do this. And went and helped out there. We were already helping out friends that we knew got hit anyways. So that one was an easy transition to just pick up and help. Travis Manion Foundation is big on what they call the Character Does Matter program. And so they go into schools and sport groups, anything where kids are involved, and they become mentors for those children in school. And they use veterans and Gold Star families and first responders because they have an inspiring story to tell these kids to help them understand what these characters look like and what they mean. So,
and they're out of, if I'm looking at this the right one, they're out of Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Correct.
Okay.
The home state of Travis Manion himself, who the foundation is named after. So,
okay, let's put that out there. These are some great resources for people.
And they all have, and I tell people all the time, just because you enter in through one of these that sound interesting to you, go visit all of them. Wear all the shirts if you have to, because each of them have their own unique niche that even if it's not interesting to you right now, know what the organizations do, because down the road they might become interesting to you. And that's how ours have 100%. As our life has changed, our interest in them have changed. And so we've been able to go from 1 to 2 to 3, now helping out with as many as we possibly can. If it's something that lights our fire, why not, right? As a veteran.
Exactly. And you're showing support for others and continuing to serve by helping them, but you're also helping veterans too.
Yes.
And I think these are some really great nonprofit organizations, and a lot to look into in that regard. I guess I knew this, but it didn't really click about how close you are and that you are here in Tennessee. So I don't know if you missed it, but I did post Minutes Wisely is a 501c3,
Okay.
and they are here in Middle Tennessee, and they are doing their inaugural golf tournament on September 11th.
Oh, okay.
And I don't golf worth a darn, but I intend to be there. I gathered up a team, so we're going to be out there. So if you guys are interested, would love to have you out and out with the rest of us and
Awesome.
having some fun.
Yeah, that's all those tournaments ever end up being anyways. It's all just about fun.
It is. It absolutely is. So I'll shoot you over a message with that flyer and you can share it too.
Amazing. I appreciate it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't golf worth a darn either. So
I absolutely don't. And I've got some ringers. At least they can hit that ball. My husband, that he just hits that ball. And I think that's really why I have such a hard time, is because I see him hit that ball and it seems like it goes for miles and miles. And I'm like, bloop.
You're still playing the putt-putt game, you feel like.
Yes, 100%. But when it's a scramble, it's all good, right? Best ball, that's what you take. So
right.
those are the kind that I really like. So yeah. Now, what would you have to say to an individual, more specifically a female who's looking to join the military? What advice do you have for them?
Don't believe what's out there. I was not harassed. I was never, it happens 100%. And it's not something you ask for or are looking for, but it does not happen to every single female that goes in. There are good stories out there. I had great advocates in the males that were around me. Still to this day, my husband is my number one advocate always, right? Someone thanks him for his service and he will she served too. And a lot of the time I'm like, you didn't have to. I'm okay. I'm okay being in the shadows sometimes. It's all right. And he's like, no, it's not. They need to tell you, So, but do your due diligence. Don't just go in with a purpose. Know your why, as they all say. Because I feel like I would have stayed in if I had known my why. Why am I here? Other than my friend said it was fun, let's go do this. If I had understood my why a little more, I probably would have retired just like my husband did. I absolutely loved being in the military. It was, it's actually one of my biggest topics still to this day, and I've been out for decades now. It's always fun to sit around with the guys and have them talk, and then you all of a sudden pipe in and they're like, oh wait, that's right. It's good to see. It's fun.
Yes.
And then to see the ones that do know, gather you in like you are one of them. So I always feel like no matter what, when I'm in my any veteran group, that I have big brothers to my left and right, no matter what. So I have sisters to my left and right, no matter what, because as soon as you say a veteran, we will make fun of each other, but don't you dare mess with any of us all as a whole. but we will laugh amongst the different service groups. So
Nice. Okay, so I have a question. I'm not going to put it out there yet. I will after I ask it. So I was told to ask you about pottery and how creative outlets can forge our ability to process the emotions and things we deal with during and after service.
yes, yes. If you have any inclination to any arts, go find it. Go take the classes. Go do it. I had no idea what art would bring me. I didn't take it in high school. I stumbled into it in college and fell in love with it. Whether it's capturing photos or what have you, if you don't feel safe telling your story, you can tell your story through your art and never say it.
Yes.
People will make 1,000 guesses as to what you drew or what that photo meant to you or what anything is. But you don't have to tell them. You don't ever have to say your story, but your brain is working through that as you are building it, as you are drawing it. For me, it's sitting at the wheel of a pottery wheel and I can zone out. It is no lie. When you start your piece, it's called centering, and it 100% centers you. And my the instructor that I do classes with right now is amazing because if he sees you struggling on something, he will just come over the table at you and say, breathe, take a breath. And it just reminds you to in and out and recenter yourself. So for me, pottery, and I do art for a living. I do graphic design, but pottery has been the world to me. So
what kind of things have you created?
Right now I've done a lot: teapots, mugs, bowls, plates, whatever I feel like throwing at the time. So all of mine currently is what they call functional pottery. So stuff you can use within your house.
And what's the medium that you use?
I use, it's called the speckled buff clay. So yeah, it's a little rough. It's got to the point that if I have to go do fingerprints for anything, they have to use the old school print fingerprints. It's a little rough clay, and I get to turn it into something amazing. And
do you have a piece handy that we can see?
I am with my daughter. She actually has a piece, but she's not in here right now. Like I can send her a text and have her bring one in. So I made her, she's a tea lover. And so I saw in the stores all those tea mugs that have the lid to it and the strainer is in there. So it'll sit and steep and then the lid keeps it warm. And I'm still she took the first one and uses it and absolutely loves it. And I keep going, I'm going to make you a better one. And I've made more, but she still uses that first one. And I'm like, I love you, child.
You know, that is the thing too, is a lot of veterans they don't necessarily recognize that they have a true passion for something that is really there to help them in any healing that they need. But those who have recognized it have really done well. I mean, I have a stack I showed of books by veteran authors. I kid you not, a stack, and more that are on the way. The Veteran Voice Radio, internet radio station. So all of the singer-songwriters that are veterans are, out there, and they're constantly adding new ones. I've got a show coming up on the 18th, and he is a veteran, and he just signed with a record label. So, just a lot of great artists all the way around. And I think it's really neat to see what you can accomplish, right? And when they're doing that, when they're writing their books, when they're writing their songs, when they're creating pottery, they're putting their all into it.
Yes.
And that to me means so much. I'm so happy to pay for something like that instead of something that's so commercialized and really doesn't have a whole lot of meaning to the
Yeah.
individual who created it.
Yes, 100%. We were just a part of or I was a part of the Veteran Coalition art show. And so I was in the first time ever being in an actual museum as an artist. So the Custom House Museum in Clarksville hosted us this year. And so my pottery got to be in there. So I had a vase that was kind of a double medium. So the base was ceramic and the top was woven vase. So,
wow.
And so it's a beautiful piece. If anybody wants to see what I do, the Instagram is Centered by Sarah. So you can come see, I post all the projects I do, and as it comes out, if I experiment with glazes or design ideas, I'll post it and talk about it and what that piece meant to me and the struggles I had with it and why I'm proud of it, or why I first saw it just being ugly. And now that it's sat with me for a while, why I feel it's a stronger, Yeah. So I have a lot of conversations with myself around those art pieces myself. Why did I decide to do it that way? And so now I take this hard ceramic piece and I marry it with this very soft rope and yarn, and I weave this little basket top to it. And why did I do that? What made, so a lot of my conversations are about that on my Instagram stuff about it.
Wow. So Grid Square Recon. So that actually, thank you for that question. And thank you for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. I think the conversation there, that was spot on as far as to help heal and help keep your mind occupied. I'm sure you have seen the progression from when you first started to where you are today in your creativity process. I bet it's amazing.
It is. And I've seen it over and over again. Every medium I decide to pick up, just because I'm an artist doesn't mean it comes natural to me.
Right.
Painting is not natural to me. Don't ask me to carve anything out of clay and make a head bust, because my head would probably explode. I avoided those classes for a reason. I don't get it. So not everything comes naturally to me. So being able to see that progression happen, but to have see that moment that I get to reflect on myself and what this means to me. And it's not even, a lot of the time, it's not even an art piece that was inspired by something, my story. I saw something else. I saw another art piece and said, these colors are amazing. I'm going to recreate that in my glaze combination for my pottery. And there you go. Like, here's a whole story. Yeah. Come in. So this is her little tea glass. So it's got, I had to do a lid to it. And it's the first time in a long time that I did a lid item. So, but I've enjoyed lately, I've had requests to throw pieces for nonprofits as well. So I put piece in for it's a new equine therapy in Clarksville. It's trying to get started. Two Raven Foundation. And
is it the letter 2 or the number 2?
Either way, I'll get you there.
That just sounded funny.
They use the number 2, but so they're trying to raise money to bring an arena, or to build an arena and everything else. And so I made coffee cups with their logo stamped in there, and made a whole coffee basket for them to auction off. And then the Night Stalker Association put out, same thing, call for artists to donate stuff. So again, I did 2 mugs and a coffee jug to be put into a basket for that. The coolest part for that is here in Clarksville, we have a coffee company called Mugsy's that's 160th connection. The owner was 160th as well. And so we walked in to buy a bag of coffee to put in our coffee basket, and the owner was there and he knows Chris. And so he was like, nope, you're not paying for it. Just put it in the basket. So it was a 100% donated. Nobody had to come out of anything for that one. So they were able to make all the money for that one. So it was pretty cool.
But awesome. So do you have a store, an online store for any of your items?
I do not yet. That one's the hardest transition to me. I want to give them to all my friends, especially when they, oh my gosh, that one's so beautiful. And I'm like, I haven't transitioned to that value of how do I how do I ask people for money for
and
it.
put a price on what you're doing. Yeah.
Yes. So that is coming very quickly. We have a kiln coming on the way. And so right now I work out of a ceramic shop, and a gentleman that taught ceramics at the local college there in Clarksville for 20 years. He now has a shop there. And so he teaches classes. So I say I take classes. He's there if I have questions, but I pay for the classes so I have access to the wheel and the kiln and everything else. So I think I will still continue taking those classes because he's amazing. And the class, the people that are all there, we do have a couple veterans and an active duty service member that are taking classes with me, and other people that I've grown to love and be a part of that class. So I will more than likely continue to take those classes. I think no matter how advanced I get, just because it's fun to get together and do it all at once. So
right. I absolutely love how you've continued to, one, serve, and two, grow after your time in the service, and continue to progress, right? And work on yourself, keeping your mind straight, and always moving forward, learning new things, teaching others how to do things. I think is such a fabulous trait, and I appreciate you in all that you've done. Anybody out there, if you guys have some questions for Sarah, why don't you go ahead and drop those in the chats for me, please? And let's see. So not I don't have a whole lot more. Is there anything that you would like to add for our viewers?
I don't think so. I think it's taken a lot for me to understand the pivot concept, and that's where I've learned to grow, right? Understanding that just because I've put a lot of effort into something doesn't mean I can't stop doing that. I can stop and I can progress into something else and see those wins again, right? Because a lot of the time we hit that high and we've gone as far as we can, but we keep chugging at it just because we've done it. And so to learn that pivot, the ability to walk away from something I've done for a while and relearn something and see those highs happen again.
Yes.
Keep searching for those highs. That's it. Just keep looking for them.
Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, I have tried all sorts of mediums. I have done watercolor and oils and and of course the acrylic pours, and and I've come up with some really great pieces, but like you, I have a hard time charging. And but to know that feeling of knowing that your piece is in somebody else's home and they're enjoying that is such a high, as you've said, and really humbles you as well.
So a quick story. Years ago, we were still a part of Team Red, White, and Blue, but we were asked by the Travis Manion Foundation to pair up for an event at a military kind of transition home. They were homeless at one point. We're trying to help them make sure they have their benefits, everything else. The place needed to be painted. So we came in all together, helped paint this place. While in there, we met a Marine Corps veteran that was living there on his way transitioning, right? He became a part of our group after that, there was a core group of us that kind of hung out between RWB and Travis Manion. And we would go out to dinners every Friday night. We would meet up at a Mexican restaurant. And so this Marine veteran started coming out as well. And we are still in contact with him. And big, burly Marine veteran, right? He is the first one that reached out and said, I absolutely have to have that bull. What do I need to pay to have it? And I was thrown back. I was like, wait, what? You want my piece? I didn't charge him a thing. I even shipped it his way. He sent me a picture afterward with the bonsai tree he planted in the bowl and everything. He was so proud of it. I'm like, that's what I needed right then. Not the fact of you saying your piece is awesome. You showing me how you used it and seeing you excited in it. That's what it's about. So
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's really heartwarming. And I had somebody commission a painting, and this is in my spray paint phase. And of course, the planets and things like that. And her last name was Mars. So she wanted, and she didn't want it very big, right? She didn't have a whole lot of room, but she wanted something like that. So I did Mars. And I was like, I can't believe and I threw out a price, and she's like, that's not enough. And I'm like,
wow.
How can you say that that's, but it really does. It does. It warms your heart, and to know it's hanging out there in somebody's, living room or what have you. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Grid Square Recon has a question. He says, what are
yeah.
your thoughts on the power of possibility in art, seeing things in a positive viewpoint rather than the worst possible outcome the military plans us to prepare for? That is such a great question. Oh, you are doing great, Grid Square Recon. Excellent.
So I think it works you towards your positivity. Just like I said early on with the art, I can hide my meanings in my art. I cannot tell you what it means, and I can work myself through dark moments and eventually get to that positive side and look back and go, holy cow, I was in this spot and now I'm in this spot, all because my brain was able to work through it without having to, as we call it, burdening the other people around us, right? So I've told people all the time, just sign up for an art class, especially one that makes you, it would be interesting to me to set up one that at the end you actually do a critique, like in college. All your pieces go up on a wall, people talk about your piece, because those veterans would sit there and just almost snicker. Because how many artists do we sit there and say, oh, this is what Michelangelo meant in this? How many of his art pieces, I guarantee you, he sits there and goes, that's not what that was. But our thought process now, this is what it means. So being able to look back and go, man, that was a dark time, and look at my art and look at my art now. I have changed. Things have changed. And so to be able to recognize that is huge for art. And I throw in writing as that, writing as well.
Because we've critiqued in high school, how many times in your English and your, things of that, where we've gone back, had to critique a book like To Kill a Mockingbird as a prime example, right? And well, what did the author mean about this? Well, we're going to throw out whatever just to get a grade.
Right.
But like you said, odds are that wasn't what they meant at all. It was truly black and white.
Not even close. And half the time, maybe that art was just because he saw a pretty flower, and who cares otherwise. Yeah. But we turn it into meaning. Yeah. So I think it's a huge help, because it helps your brain work through things that your day-to-day won't allow you to do. And I found that in running as well. If I go out running and I'm having a struggle of a day, my brain can I fix problems within my run distance, right? That I struggled with for weeks and couldn't come up with the answer for. but I'll be out on a 5-minute, 10-minute, within 10 minutes of my run, whatever. And I'm going, well, there's the answer. Where was this 2 weeks ago? Right.
Right.
So if you're able to unlock your brain from your day to day, and I think art helps with that one 100%.
Yeah. That's a great question, a great answer. So I'm not seeing any other questions out there. I do want to say again, I really, really appreciate you and your time in your service, your sacrifices. We definitely want to continue to hear about your growth as an artist as well. So we'll have to definitely keep in contact there. Everybody, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining tonight in the conversation, asking questions. Grid Square, thank you. And we've got, let's see, Jason, Jim, thank you. Tennessee Goddess, appreciate you. G23, thank you. And I think Danny, let's see, we've got Danny out there. And I think that about covers it in the chats. So, oh, Angry Sarge, yes. Oh, and by the way, for those of you, Angry Sarge, so he was a veteran I had on the show. He just hit his 500 subscribers. So congratulations to you, my friend. And he is doing a giveaway. So that'll run through, I can't remember the exact date. So, but if you go out to his page, there is a 500 subscriber little video there, and it will point to the directions on how to join and get put in for the giveaway for his 500 subscribers. So congratulations, Angry Sarge. Always so happy to watch your milestones as well. All right. Well, everybody, I appreciate you coming out. And Sarah, thank you very much for taking the time to come out and join today in the conversation.
Thank you for having me on.
And if you want to stay put, we will chat here in just a minute backstage.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Excellent. Y'all have a good night, and we will see you again next weekend, next Sunday night, 6 p.m. Central Time.